Hello students, today we will discuss on certain concepts of project management. What is a project and how is it different from day to day function? Infosys declares the financial results of the company to the stakeholders on the 10th day after completing the previous quarter. Can we call this a project? A salesman is given a target of achieving 6 crores sales within the financial year with a sales budget of 25 lakhs. Can we call this a project? No, we cannot call these as projects. These are ongoing and repetitive tasks where you often repeat the same processes and produce the same results. Then what are projects? A project is a complex, non-routine, one-time effort limited by time, budget and resources with a stated performance specifications which is designed to meet customer needs and achieving the set business goals. When we take up the projects, it is not only essential to meet the customer needs, but also to keep organization business goals in view. Let us understand the characteristics of a project. 1. Every project will have an established objective. Projects are undertaken to fulfill specific objectives. Well defined objectives through project scope statement serves a great purpose in providing direction and clarity to the project. Second, project has a defined lifespan, a definite beginning and an end. Projects always have a start and an end date, and the project team signs off from the project after accomplishing the project objectives and satisfying the requirements of the project stakeholders. Third, projects are multidisciplinary with involvement of several departments and professionals. Normally, projects involve people representing different departments or functions within the organization. But if the project requires people who are not part of the organizations like professionals, consultants, they can be included. The latest trend is several companies across the globe become part of the project team achieving the common objectives. For example, we see in automobile sector for a new vehicle development project, many companies including some ancillaries become part of the project. 4. Projects are unique in nature, doing something that has never been done before. Uniqueness of the tasks sometimes differentiate a project from routine day-to-day operation. Doing something first time qualify itself being called as project. The fifth, projects have specific cost and time. For projects, detailed estimation of time and cost is prepared in a structured way, and these estimates once approved gets established as the project objectives. Sixth, all projects demand performance. Apart from the objectives, projects also have list of certain performance parameters in the form of milestones to be achieved, critical tasks to be completed and physical deliverables. After having understood what projects are and its characteristics, let us discuss about project stakeholders. A project is successful when it achieves its objectives and meets or exceeds the expectations of the stakeholders. Key stakeholders can make or break the success of a project. The project manager, being one of the key stakeholder, has the responsibility of identifying and listing the stakeholders. After listing the stakeholders, project manager has to manage the expectations of the stakeholders. For this, project manager early in the project should meet with all the stakeholders to understand their needs and constraints. Expectations of the stakeholders should be documented in the form of requirements and deliverables during the planning phase of the project. Let us identify the stakeholders for a typical project. First, project manager, one of the key stakeholder vested with authority and responsibility to manage the project. Project manager assumes the responsibility for the success of the project. Keeping all the stakeholders informed is the job one for a project manager. Second, customer or the end user. One of the key stakeholder and the project is more or less dedicated to fulfill the requirements of the customer. Project manager also need to consider the requirement of end user, though end user may not be directly involved in the project. For example, public works department in a state government is the customer for a flyover construction project, but the end users are the people commuting on that flyover and their safety needs to be taken care. The third is the performing organization, nothing but the organization taking up the particular project to achieve its business goal. The fourth, the sponsorer in the form of investment or funding agency like banks, lenders, shareholders, board members, etc., who are one of the important stakeholders as project require funding. Sponsors are vested with the authority to assign resources or funds for a project. They also have the authority to resolve the conflicts and set priorities when these things cannot be dealt with in any other way. The fourth is the team members are also key stakeholders of a project and are assigned various tasks related to the project and have direct responsibility of completing the tasks meeting with the requirements of the project. Fifth, we have the internal external members who are indirectly required to associate with the project in order to achieve the project objectives. Typically, the support that are required from functions like purchase, accounts, outside testing and certification agencies, etc., these are the outside members or the indirect project members. The fifth, we have suppliers or subcontractors. Projects which require the support of suppliers or subcontractors for achieving the objectives of the project. Recent trends indicate that suppliers are being considered as partners to work concurrently with the project team to achieve the goals of the project. Next, we have other parties like government bodies, industry institutions, monitoring councils, etc., for certain projects which require interaction with external agencies, and these agencies may have greater influence on the outcome of the project. For example, legal clearances, license approval, providing clear title land, provisioning the power and water supply by the government, product certification by Bureau of Indian Standards, etc. We have last, society and citizen. Certain projects when executed may have impact on the society or citizen directly or indirectly. For example, installing a nuclear power plant affect the society and citizen living close by to such plants. Project managers should consider the impact and effect of the project outcome on the society at large. Stakeholder analysis. After identifying the stakeholders, project manager has to conduct a stakeholder analysis. First step in stakeholders analysis is to identify all the potential stakeholders and capturing the general information such as contact details, knowledge level and needs. Second step is to assess the support or potential impact the stakeholders have for the projects. For example, some stakeholders may have significant influence over the project. Understanding where the stakeholders fit in the organization structure is very important. Third step is to devise a plan or strategy to deal with any potential impacts and action plan to meet the requirements of all stakeholders associated with the project. Now, let us understand about project life cycle. Projects too have life cycles similar to product life cycle that we are familiar with. Project life cycles are similar for all the projects regardless of their size and complexity. Most projects include at least 4 phases in its life cycle, and the project manager and the stakeholders can review and assess whether the project can move to the next phase. The 4 phases of project life cycle are: the first phase is the defining phase, which occur at the beginning of the project, and it involves identifying or defining the project in terms of its goals or objectives, and may include any specifications or tests or certifications that are required for the project. Developing the project charter, defining the project scope unambiguously and identifying the project manager and other stakeholders are the major tasks that gets completed in this phase. The second phase is the planning phase, and it starts with the refining or modifying the project goals and objectives if necessary. Estimating the budget, that is project cost, time frame, and identifying any other resources required for successful execution of the project are the major tasks completed in this phase. Also in this phase, all the members of the project team are identified and the responsibility assigned to individuals based on the work breakdown structure that is developed during this phase. Execution is the third phase in the project life cycle. In this phase, the project management plan is put into action and the project manager will coordinate and direct the project resources to meet the objectives of the project plan. Main challenge in this phase is to monitor the progress and ensure that the project is always on right track with regard to timelines and cost budget. Monitoring and controlling activities takes the limelight to ensure that project is staying true to the project plan. During monitoring and controlling, changes may be required to the project activities, resources, schedules and budgets. Based on the variance between the plan versus actual, corrective action and changes as required for various aspects of the project is applied and fresh forecast in terms of project performance parameters are projected. The fourth or the final phase is the termination or the closing phase, which brings a formal end to the activities of the project. In this phase, handing over of the deliverables, documents, training the clients etc. are performed, and once the objectives of the project are met, formal acceptance and approvals are obtained from project stakeholders. Before closing the project files, a review of the entire project in terms of what went right, what went wrong, lessons learned are summed up, and this would serve as a reference for future projects. Thus, understanding the project life cycle is important for the project manager. Dear students, thus in this session we learnt about project and its characteristics, project stakeholders and project life cycle. Goodbye for now.